So the bought and paid for Canadian media is doing Justin Trudeau's work for him yet again. And here they are, smearing the leading candidate to be leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Because when you shower the Canadian media with hundreds of millions of dollars, you don't even need to tell them what to do. They just know. So what's going on? Liberal mouthpiece. POILIEVRE slams Global News after smear article. Anyway, the article criticizes POILIEVRE's decision to meet with Canadian Army veteran James Topp, who led a crowd to Ottawa in a protest against vaccine mandates. And this is something that's not forgivable by the majority of the Canadian media. Being anti-mandate is just not okay with them. And POILIEVRE is anti-mandate. And he's also pro-free speech, which obviously Canadian journalists are going to hate. And he's just generally in favor of freedom. And, well, we know what they think of freedom, don't we? Because they tell us, CBC experts warn against far-right connotations of the word freedom. You really can't make this up, folks. Yeah, you need to be scared of the people who want freedom for themselves and for you. No. You'll be much happier under, I guess, authoritarianism. And here's the article in question here, and it's got a photo here of people with Canadian flags, and it looks like they're holding up a sign that says freedom there. And it says under here, how close is too close to the far right? This is insanity. I mean, how are they not embarrassed to publish this? It is the height of absurdity. It is the height of gaslighting. I mean, just look at all these far-right people who want to be free. Says, on June 30th, Conservative leadership candidate Pierre Poilievre made a choice. Wearing a crisp blue shirt and a politician's smile, he walked up to a group of anti-vaccine mandate protesters and led the pack as it walked down Ottawa streets. Beside him marched a man named James Topp, an anti-vaccine figure, anti-mandate figure, now set to face a court-martial who had been walking across the country to draw attention to his opposition to vaccine mandates. Well, it's interesting how they just use the mandates here at the end of the sentence, not here at the start. That's interesting, isn't it? But also, now set to face a court-martial. Well, one might say that he's set to be politically persecuted. But they won't say that in this Global News article because they like that sort of thing. But my response to this is, so what? What else does it say here? Here's a subheading, Flirting with the Far Right. Politicians around the world have increasingly toyed with far-right movements and principles in recent years, from spreading unfounded conspiracies about the World Economic Forum. Okay, we're back to that in 1 second. To amplifying populist ideas from the fringes of society for political gain. So this sentence here, populist ideas from the fringes of society. If they're from the fringes of society, they're not populist. I mean, it's kind of in the word, populist. And what is populist? I don't know, like opposition to government overreach? Like government censorship? Like mandates? I mean, I know the Canadian press would never know this from the dinner parties that they go to, but that's not exactly from the fringes of society. But back to this unfounded conspiracies about the World Economic Forum. Really? Do you mean the guys who put this out? Yeah, conspiracy theories about the guys who have a website where they put out a video saying that you'll own nothing and be happy. Yeah, so criticism of those guys, that's conspiracy theories. Gee, I wonder if this person's biased. I wonder if their definition of far right includes just anybody who doesn't agree with her on anything. Let's see, well, she's got some experts here like Evan Balgord, Executive Director of the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. A network, by the way, that's received hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Canadian government to do what? Find hate, of course. And when they can't find it, they're willing to make it up. I mean, the chair of the Canadian Anti-Hate Network was caught in a hate hoax. Canadian Anti-Hate Network caught spreading hate hoax to smear truckers. And I've done a video on that, and you can find it, I don't know, somewhere on my channel. So I don't know, it just makes you wonder why we should believe anything these people tell us. Anyway, Pierre Poilievre has responded to this article. He says, "No wonder trust in the media is at an all-time low. One of global news's so-called journalists decided to smear me and thousands of other Canadians because we criticize the federal government's unscientific and discriminatory mandates." And here we see his campaign's response to the attack. "Canadians' trust in the news media has reached an all-time low. And when we look at your coverage of these issues, it's easy to understand why. Instead of just covering the news, unprofessional journalists like you try to set disingenuous traps to attack your opponents. At every available opportunity, Pierre Poilievre has supported and will continue to support Canadians' right to restore their freedoms and take back control of their lives. He has done this all while repeatedly calling for individuals who engage in illegal behavior or express heinous views to be held accountable for their actions." One just quick criticism here. This express heinous views will be held accountable for their actions. I don't support that, because who judges what's a heinous view? And you should be able to express yourself whether your views are heinous or not. If you want to have the free speech that any democracy needs to function, you're going to have to put up with hearing heinous things occasionally. It's just the way it is. But anyway, Mr. Poilievre has stated unequivocally that any and all racism is evil and must be stopped. "Since you insist on demonizing Canadians who dare to speak up against the Trudeau government, we can only assume that Global News is content to be a liberal mouthpiece. Mr. Poilievre supports James Topp's singular cause of ending mandates so people can take back control of their lives. Your tactic seems to be to demand Mr. Poilievre answer for all the words and deeds of not just everyone he has ever met, but also everyone they have ever met. That amounts to guilt by multiple degrees of separation. Mr. Poilievre meets and talks with thousands of people who meet and talk with thousands of people. Each of those people is individually responsible for their own words and deeds." And that sentence will send the left into just paroxysms of rage because they don't much care for the individual. They prefer groups. But anyway, let's continue. "For example, Mr. Poilievre has met with Justin Trudeau." That does not make Mr. Poilievre responsible for Trudeau's many racist outbursts, including dressing up in racist costumes and mistreating visible minorities in his own party. And that is absolutely devastating, is it not? I mean, just because Pierre Poilievre has met with Justin Trudeau, that doesn't make him in support of blackface like Justin Trudeau is. And how about this? Justin Trudeau's India visit overshadowed by invitation to attempted murderer. And this is an interesting title because underneath here it says, the guy was part of a Sikh terrorist group. So in the main headline here it says murderer, but underneath it says terrorist. Well, it's The Guardian, so I think you'd probably expect that. Let's see, and the Liberal government under Trudeau gives $10.5 million to convicted terrorist. So I wonder, will Global be putting out an article asking if Justin Trudeau is too close to terrorists, or how close is too close to terrorists? I don't think they will, because, you know, Justin sends them money. Anyway, it ends off with, "Mr. Poilievre will continue to stand up for everyday Canadians and won't apologize for doing so." And that will make the bought and paid for press in Canada very, very unhappy. And that in turn makes me happy. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing is really important. It makes a huge difference. I notice when you share my content. Thank you for doing that. I'll see you next time.